Mission Pro Wrestling, the symbol of excellence in women's sports entertainment.
Good evening, everybody. Mission Pro fam. This is Mind Runner, and yes, this is Mission Pro Spotlight, and my tag team partner, always at the turnbuckle, ready to get the hot tag, is Angel Marie. Angel, how are you doing?
Hey, I am doing. I'm holding up in there. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm vibing. I'm not gonna lie.
There you go. You gotta roll with the vibe. You have the good days and bad days.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to be an opponent in the ring from you when you're having one of those days, though. I don't want you. I regret. I would not want to be that person. So super excited. You know, there's a lot of diehard rabid wrestling fans like us, and when we find our people out in the interwebs, we love to talk to them. And one of our people, I can already tell just in our interactions online, is joining us here in just a moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our guest today, she is one half of the Meet Us in the Ring podcast. Super awesome person. Our people, Mission Pro fam, this is our guest at this time.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. That was such a slay. I loved every second of that.
Well, this is the Slay Squad, and I think we need to officially make you a member of the Slay Squad. You are now our third member.
I'd be
heck
honored.
yeah, I
I'd be
agree.
honored. But hi, thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Mary. Like you said, I'm one half of the Meet Us in the Ring podcast. Maddie unfortunately couldn't be here, but we'll be back, so she'll be here.
Yep, and we'll have to have a separate intro for Maddie. We'll do something a little bit different in her style. But yeah, I mean, keeping with the Halloween coming up as well, we had to kind of go there. But there, you now have your official entrance music. So
thank you.
You know, forget the Stone Cold Pop whenever we hear Mary's music. Oh, here comes Mary the heel. And Courtney in the chat says, "Hey, Mary." So
hi, Courtney.
Of course, she's calling me Mud Runner instead of Mid Runner.
Oh,
I get it all the time. Thunder Rosa calls me Mid Runner, so you know with mid, but yeah, that goes way back. But somebody told her that I like soft shell tortillas instead of corn tortillas, but I don't know who that was, Angel. I don't know who that was. But before we get,
it totally wasn't me. It totally wasn't me.
Totally wasn't you. But we're going to introduce the Mission Pro fam to Mary the heel. And the best way we like to do that is with a little segment that's totally not ripping off Sean Evans from Hot Ones. It is time for Insta Insanity.
Well, called, it's Insta Insanity.
All right, thank you, JR. This is Insta Insanity, the stories behind compelling Instagram photos. And we did a deep dive, Mary, not only into your cosplay Instagram, but also the other one, your backup or your whichever one's the backup. And so we're going to ask you to give us the context and the story behind some of these awesome photos. So we're going to kick it off. This looked like such an awesome combo. There were a lot of them to choose from, but this looked fantastic.
I was nervous as to what you were going to pick, but so this is from WrestleMania 39 in LA, and I was with my husband and my brother and my brother's friend. This was such a good time. I dressed up as Rhea Ripley. I brought my Divas title. It was very hard to have that on the whole time when I was sitting down. It was not the most comfortable, but I just felt like I needed to bring my title there, and we had such a good time.
What was the atmosphere like? I mean, this is like the Olympics. I mean, this is the grand stage.
Oh
Was
my
it
gosh,
surreal?
yeah. I mean, this was my third WrestleMania, and so and it never gets to a point where it's like, oh yeah, this is just another WrestleMania. Like, no, it always feels like it's
Big.
literally the Super Bowl. Like,
Hmm.
it just the energy is so awesome. Like wrestling fans, as much as sometimes there is toxicity, among wrestling fans, when it's WrestleMania day, like everybody is best friends. You
Yeah.
will literally see everybody just interacting with people they've never met in their life, and it's so amazing.
Do you think too, like the IWC, it gets a bad rap, but it's usually like a handful of trolls. It's like the
Mhm.
empty cans make the most noise. I feel like most of us enjoy wrestling. We're just fans. There's no like, oh, I don't know, they should have booked Rhea Ripley to do the. Yeah, it seems to be a bonding experience. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, you could literally go up to anyone and just be like, "Hey, I like your outfit." And they're like, "Hey, I like your outfit." And then all of a sudden, you're having a drink together. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I think in person is a lot more of a welcoming atmosphere than online. I think
Mhm.
it's just so easy to say mean things online, but like in person, that's not the vibe.
No, not at all. Not at all. I got the feeling going through your Instagram that you're a Disney fan a little bit,
Just a little bit, just a little
just a
bit.
little bit.
Yeah, so this I think this was either 2023 last year or 2022. The picture with me and my husband, but I dressed up as Mirabelle that day, and I actually met her, and she was so lovely and amazing. And then the tattoo, I got that because I did the Disney College program.
Uh-huh.
For people who don't know what that is, it's when you're in college, you can do an internship at Disney, either Disneyland or Walt Disney World. And so I went to Disney World and I was there for about 2 months. I left my program early, but I decided, you know what? I'm here. This is my college program. I'm going to go get a tattoo. And that's what I did.
That's awesome. Are you going to fill that in? Or is that the tattoo you're gonna roll with?
I mean, I think I'm definitely going to get it touched up and like add things around it, but I like the outline.
It does look cool. It's pretty
Thank
awesome.
you.
Any more ink? I mean, are you gonna add like Tinkerbell or I don't
I
know, maybe
do. I do
Jafar?
wanna add I wanna add Tinkerbell in the corner, maybe some fireworks on the side or something. And I do plan on getting other tattoos, but as of right now, that's the only one I have.
When you wish upon a star. Very, very cool. Very cool. Now,
Thank you.
I'm going to see if I know Disney terms. I'm going to try this out because I've heard this. Are you a rope dropper?
I'm not. I'm not a
Okay.
rope dropper. As much as I would like to be, I can't get there that early.
But you understand that term.
Yeah.
Angel's probably so proud of me right now. I'm using terms correctly. I tried using skibbity riz the
For
other day, and
once.
she just.
Stop. Nope, 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 no, 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 no. Just don't. No, don't
Hey,
get started, bro.
all
We
right.
talked about this.
This slays, right? This slays,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Okay, yeah, Slay is fine. Slay is fine. Everything else is a no.
All right, all right, all right. Well, I've used my slang for the day for the show. All right. Speaking of which, these are some of the just handpicked some of the many awesome cosplays, and are they cosplays or is it more just like dressing influences? Because I mean, you could walk around in some of these outfits like during the day, and it's not like a costume.
Yeah, have you heard of the term called Disney bounding?
Not heard about it, but I'm fascinated.
So Disney bounding is basically dressing in the scheme of a character, but not doing a full-on cosplay. So like how with my Scarlet Witch one, it's just the red and black colors with the
Hmm.
gloves to just kind of give the essence of that character rather than doing a full one like my crown with the evil queen. So
Yeah,
it's more subtle, and people will still be like, "Hey, I can tell that you're dressed up as this, but you're not going full blown because you can't at the parks. When you're an
yeah,
adult, you're not allowed to unless it's the Halloween events.
yeah.
So, Disney adults have kind of found a way to go around that.
I never thought about it that you can't dress up as one of the characters when you go
Mhm.
on a normal day because they're gonna think you're they're gonna mistake you for one of the employees there. Yeah, I
It's
didn't
the
think
it's
about.
the fastest way to get blacklisted, and I'm not trying to do that.
I don't blame you. But this is cool. So it's kind of like you have the vibe, and
Mhm.
it's pretty cool to kind of see which character you're kind of vibing with. I do like that. We have a question in the chat. Courtney wants to know who's your favorite Disney princess.
It's Cinderella. She has always been my number 1. Tiana's my number 2, though, and it's very close
Very close. Tiana number 2, but you got to go with old school.
with my girl Cindy. I
Your
cried the
girls.
first time I met her.
Uh, when you wish by, and do you have a glass slipper?
I don't, but I imagine it'd be very uncomfortable, so
Yeah, I wouldn't want to put pressure on it. This was
Oh.
really cool. This was kind of like a Grease family reunion kind of thing.
Yeah, so my Mexican side of my family, they do a reunion every year, and this year they wanted to do Grease as the theme. So I decided to take one of the outfits that John Travolta wears in the movie, and it's when he's trying out the different sports to
Hmm.
like kind of try to see which one's gonna work. And I knew it was gonna be hot. It was August, so I was like, I don't want to wear a leather jacket. I don't want to wear, a big dress or whatever. So I chose this route and I got the shirt on Amazon, the shorts and the shoes from Walmart, and that was it.
Smart play too. You know it's going to be hot. You don't want to be dressed as Sandra D,
Yeah.
or you don't want to be a pink lady
I didn't
when
want to
you're.
wear any leather.
Don't blame. Yeah, your family member here holding the dog looks like she's probably wondering about. I should have gone with that. Should have made
Yeah,
that
that's
choice.
that's my sister-in-law and my niece Mercy.
Aw, adorable.
Oh.
This montage is pretty awesome. Seem like two awesome people.
Yeah, this was our wedding day. We actually were going to get married in 2020, but things happened. So we had to push it off, but we got married in 2022. And yeah, that was actually the second wedding dress that I picked out. I had another one originally. And after a while, I was like, I don't like this dress. So I went back to the store and they were so awesome and they helped me out and they let me exchange it for a different dress. And if you can see the cake, it's actually a cheesecake from Cheesecake Factory
Aw,
because I'm more of a cheesecake person than a cake person.
gotcha.
So, and my brother was our photographer. So, and he also does all of the editing for the Meet Us in the Ring podcast. He does all of our clips and everything. So he's been really helpful.
Shout out, bro. Great
Yeah.
job. Awesome stuff. Awesome skills. Interesting. I was wondering if you were gonna go with the Cinderella theme, but in a way, that is kind of a Cinderella dress a little bit, and
Yeah, kinda.
you met your Prince Charming. Oh,
Yeah, we've actually known each other since we were 14,
oh,
but we
really?
didn't get together until later on in life. But yeah.
Were
And
you both into wrestling, or did you get him into wrestling? And how did that transpire?
he was more of a casual fan and like he watched when he was younger and then my brother got me into wrestling. So like I was on and off for a long time, but
Mhm.
we started watching together during the pandemic because really I was like kind of watching by myself before that because he was like, I don't know about this new wave of wrestling. Like he's very much loves the Attitude Era and like the Ruthless Aggression Era. So I convinced him, I was like, you know what, like just watch it with me and then we'll see. And now it's like he's the one who's on top of it and he's like, hey, we need to watch Raw, we need to watch SmackDown. And so he's super invested too. And so it's been nice that we've been able to connect on that and we've been watching wrestling pretty consistently for the last 4 years. So
And what a great time to be a wrestling fan. I mean, are
truly.
are you just WWE and NXT, or do you branch out to AW, TNA, some of the end of the indies?
Yeah, I mean I am mostly a WWE person just because I feel like it's just hard for me to be like, oh, there's all these different promotions and all these different things, and so I try to. I mostly stick to WWE, but like I'm not opposed to watching the other ones. I'll
Mhm.
watch clips on Instagram, like of AEW matches or TNA. I actually really love TNA's women's division. I
Mhm.
think they're chef's kiss. I love them.
Yeah, and that's been a debate here for a while. I know Angel and I were talking. that like TNA and NXT's women's divisions and that crossover. Like
Oh,
we still are popping about when Jordan Grace showed up at NXT after she had done the Rumble, and
yeah.
just the pop she got, and the back and forth with Wendy Chu and Rosemary, that kind of stuff. Chris, we'll get to that in a little bit too. But yeah, just the women's wrestling has really, like, compared to where it was in the Attitude Era, we feel like it's
Mhm.
really blossomed, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We just have a couple more, and then the torture will be over. But we want to talk a little bit about. It looks like this was are you a Lego security officer? What's going on here?
No, so I worked at Legoland for about 4.5 years, and uh, for most of that time, I was a character guide. So I would be with the costume characters, basically like their bodyguard,
Hmm.
just to make sure that nobody's hitting them or anything like that, and letting them know where people are because it's hard to see. So it's just kind of being their right hand person, letting them know how much time they have left and when it's time to go or when there's a little kid who's just not wanting to be appropriate,
Yeah.
So yeah, but I worked there and it was a good time. I also was a costume character, so sometimes I would be in the costumes.
How was it to be
um
in the costume? I mean, is it hard to
Hot.
see?
Very hot. Yeah, and especially because like I wear glasses and you can't really wear glasses in the costume.
Mm-mm.
So I was mostly blind. So really my character guide had such an important job to make sure that I wasn't bumping into things or like gonna fall over. But I really
Like
I mean
Frankenstein with cup hands like this,
truly, yeah. And like there's honestly nothing like the feeling of just knowing that kids are excited to see you
Yeah.
and like that it's just making their day meeting you and um yeah, a lot of good memories, a lot of good memories there, but it wasn't easy, that's for sure. Working at a theme park is not for the weak of heart, let me tell you.
Yeah, I've heard stories too. Like, yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of stories, and like you said, sometimes the kids don't know boundaries, and
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
like, "Hey," and this
Aw.
just really touched me, and I understand this is Mama.
Yeah, that's my mom. She passed away in 2022, and you can see our Chihuahua right there. Her name's Chica. I actually
Yeah.
still have her. We've had her since I was 14 years old. I'm
What?
turning 31 this year,
Oh
and
wow.
she's still kicking. She's still ever the. I'm trying to pick up a nice word. Um, no, she's great. She's
She's the
just
perpetual energy. You can't stop her, right?
well,
Unstoppable.
just the attitude, the sass.
Diva.
Oh, for sure.
What wrestler
She's
would
calmed
she?
down in her
What
age
wrestler
though.
does she mostly emulate?
Hmm. I'm trying to think of someone who's like a little
Is she a
chihuahua.
Liv? Is she a Rhea? Is she more of like a Bianca Belair, or is she more like
I think she's more like an Alexa Bliss, like
ah,
small, feisty, and knows how to get her way.
done it, done it, done it, yep. Not the fiend version, but the
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
mm,
Sometimes.
maybe.
Very cool. Well, sorry for your loss, but we
Yeah,
can
thank
definitely in
you.
these pictures we can see where you get your personality
Yeah,
from.
and she was actually waiting at the bus stop with me because I was about to go to work. I worked at a movie theater,
Oh,
and
cool.
and that was my uniform. So we
You
decided to take pictures.
I am totally not jealous. But you worked at some of the coolest jobs. I mean,
Thank you.
Legoland, movie theater,
Disney World.
Disney World. I'm
Yeah.
totally not jealous. Not at all. Not
And
at all.
now I work at a school, so I'm around kids every day.
Cool. What do you do at school?
I'm a campus aide, so basically I'm supervising the recesses, lunches, and you know, just making sure they're not doing things that are unsafe or hurting each other.
Now, look what I can do on the monkey bars. Ah!
Truly, all the time.
no
Miss Mary,
tope.
look.
No tope suicidas off the merry-go-round.
Yeah, and I actually wore this shirt to the school today. It's my Los Mysterio shirt. You can't really see it.
Oh,
But,
there it is.
And the
Very
kids,
cool.
especially the boys, they get so excited when they see me wearing WWE merch.
Oh, I'm sure they get excited. They start talking to you, Roman
Yeah.
Reigns or Cody, man. What do you say?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Well, we've got a lot to talk about, and again, can definitely see you're living an awesome life. And
Thank you.
speaking of awesomeness, there's been a lot of awesome news. However, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and because we're actually going to start with our banger of the week, because that's going to lead into our news. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to introduce our banger of the week.
Hold on to your Kulos Mission Pro fans. Rock on, it's the banger of the week.
All right, and chosen by Mary the Heel Araujo.
Araujo, yeah.
Araujo. Mary the Heel Araujo is this moment, and we talked about it before we got on the show. This match is I think a watershed match, because it's setting up the future of the NXT's women's division, of course, on the CW. Just off the top of your head, Mary, your thoughts on this match going into it, your predictions, and what did you think?
Well, let me just say, Roxanne, her finisher, the Pop Rocks, she just does it so well.
Yes.
And it just looks incredible. And it looks devastating. Like, even though she's small, it looks so powerful.
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. Angel, what was your thoughts going into watching this match?
Yeah, I was rooting for Roxanne. She's a fellow Texas girl, fellow former Mission Pro alumni. So I was definitely going for Roxanne in this match, but I was like, ooh, this match is gonna be a banger, and it lived up to that standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and trivia, of course, the Mission Pro family know Roxy at the time. Roxanne Perez was at the very first Mission Pro event, and she actually came in on Ricky Stark's shoulders. So it was that, if you go back and check out Mission Pro, if you go on Title Match Network and watch the very first Genesis, you'll actually see Roxanne, at the time, of course, Roxy, and in her first match. And
That's
awesome
incredible.
stuff. And also at that same event, the now Rin Sinclair, at the time Maddie Rinkowski, wrestled none other than the Phenom Jazz. And it was such a cool match. It was almost a bit of a passing of the torch. Highly recommend, if you haven't seen that, go check out Genesis Mission Pro on Title Match Network. Very cool stuff. Damon in the chat says Julia looked like she was still learning as she was going to the American wrestling style. Just observation. I thought, the match itself, I thought it was good. These are obviously these are going to be one already a huge NXT star. Julia, we knew when she was coming in, she's going to be all that in a bag of chips. I really was glad they made the decision at the end that they did, and kind of the way it's I think it's going to trickle into the storylines going forward. But I felt like this match was it qualifies for banger of the week, simply because of all the dynamics involved. And what I feel like, and let me know what you think about this, Mary. I feel like this was great, because you have this superstar Julia coming in, and she's already got a history, a reputation, and yet this actually made Roxanne more legitimate as champion. I feel like it really made her. I feel like you got to see what Julia could do, but I feel like this actually this actually gave more credibility to Roxanne. I mean, that she deserves it all. But I feel like this was a great match and really was able to showcase Roxanne. It wasn't just here comes the new talent that's going to take your title. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that this pushed Roxanne more than
Mhm.
before because, it's not just another person from the performance center. This is
Yes.
this is Julia. Like she's made her own name. So I feel like that has to get into the mindset of Roxanne and be like, "Hey, I need to step up my game." And I think the way that they did this was beautiful. Their moment before they locked up, like
Yeah.
everything about it, it was so good. Like it gave me goosebumps. And like this was a good match, even though it wasn't long. I
Mm-mm.
can see them having a longer match later on. And I think it's absolutely going to be a banger.
I think so too. And there was a like right here, I split screened it on the with the graphic, but that stare down with the two of
Mhm.
them, and I love how when Roxy or Roxanne, I call her Roxy. Come on, when Roxy's holding the belt like a baby, like she's like, don't take my belt kind of thing. I love how she does that. But this was such a great, the stare down. There's also a cool moment where they did where Roxanne hit the ropes, and then Julia did, like, instead of just like sprawling on the ground, she actually like went early and like turned it into a roll up. And then that went to that segment where they went back and forth, like the 1, 2, 1, 2.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I felt like toe to toe. Yeah, this definitely showed what Roxy is capable of. Do you feel like would you because AEW allows a lot of their talent to go to indie shows and go to like Mexico or Japan or England to wrestle for a while. Do you think WWE should start doing that too, with at least with its NXT talent, to give them some out of performance center reps, or do you think they still want to? You think they ought to just keep it in the performance center?
No, I mean, we're already seeing it where they're doing stuff with TNA, and
Yeah.
I think that they should keep going. I mean, Triple H talked about how he wants global domination, and that's another way of doing it is having your NXT performers go other places to show, "Hey, we can be a part of this." Like, imagine some of the NXT performers going to New Japan. Like, that would be insane.
That would be awesome, and I think it needs to happen. I mean, send Ren Sinclair, or send some of these others folks, Lola Vice, send some of these folks to
Mhm.
other promotions. Yeah, and I agree. I think it's fantastic. And then we got to talk about the ending.
Mhm.
And Angel, this popped you a unlikely reunion of sorts, Angel.
Yeah, I was like, so I was really confused because whenever Cora had gotten injured, Roxanne and Cora, at least from what I remembered, they were still like, I don't like you and stuff. And so whenever Cora runs in, I was like, what? I'm a little lost. I was like, what? And then backstage, she's like, well, I like the kind of woman that you've become now. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're friends again. Friends.
Mary, is it that easy to patch up a spoiled friendship?
I mean, we've seen this time and time again with the women's division. It's a catty division, and as soon as someone goes heel, it's like, all right, we can be cool because now we're both not nice people. And so it's like, and I mean, I think people have seen online how close Cora and Roxanne are. Like their
Yeah.
TikToks are so funny, and I think it's brilliant to have them be friends on screen again because we see how it is in real life and we want that on the screen.
Where does this go from here, you think?
Well, it can either go one of two ways. Either Cora is playing everybody and she's going to come after the title to try to take
Mhm.
it from Roxanne, or she really is like going to be there to support Roxanne and kind of be her, her right hand, I guess, so that she can hold on to her title.
I and I think Julia's not done. In fact, I love this tweet from Julia. I will show you the hell. You know, I mean, all your base are belong to us. It's she's coming after. She's not happy with the Cora, so we
Mhm.
got that coming from us. And then I like this little juxtaposition of the two of them. Like you said, we're both we're both heels now, and it's kind of like it's full circle. I do like that, and yeah, and we'll talk about in a second the NXT Women's Division could be, and we'll ask the chat. We've asked this to you guys many times before, but compared, do you think the NXT Women's Division is the best in the world, or does TNA or AEW have any competition with that? What are your thoughts, Mary, going in?
For me, it's really hard because, the main roster girls, like, they have my heart. So I wanna
Yeah.
say that they're the best, but a lot of people are really showing up. I know people say that AEW's women's division has gotten a lot better, but then at
Hmm.
the same time, they're still saying that, like, Mercedes is having bad matches and Britt Baker is having bad matches, but those are their 2 main stars, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So, I don't know, there's kind of a mishap there. But as far as NXT, they're killing it. Kaylani is
Yeah.
great. Jada Parker is great. Lash Legend is great. And
Oh,
like,
yes.
there's just so many that are really stepping up to the plate. Cause I was concerned for a minute. I was like, oh, the NXT women's division's like not doing great. But then all of a sudden they woke up.
Big time.
And
Exactly.
I do love the Knockouts division in TNA too. They're
Hmm.
really good. Obviously, Jordan Grace is one of the best. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's hard to consider NXT the best because they are so green, but they're showing what they're worth.
Hmm. And it's definitely given the main roster a run for the money. I
Oh, for
do
sure.
like though the blending though, not just with the TNA crossover. I hope they continue to do that because I want to see Masha Slamovich show up in NXT because Masha, she'll wrestle a bear, she'll wrestle anything. But I love also, like, we're gonna talk about this in a moment. We're gonna talk about Storm EST showing up for Kaylani, and with these crossovers, the all these crossovers with the main roster. It's building up. It's almost like you forget you forget that NXT is technically their developmental
Mhm.
brand, but their some of their matches are putting some of the main event matches to shame. Up, of course, our Brent Ross says AEW is the best. Yes, well, Thunder Rosa is there, so we have a little bias sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the NXT women's roster is definitely better than the Raw roster right now.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
I
sorry, it just
well,
is. But the
we
SmackDown roster, they're doing pretty good.
yes, they are. Yes, they are. And I'm loving a lot of the storylines as well. You mentioned AEW, like the AEW, Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné. There's also Mariah May, who's a tremendous superstar, and she's killing it. And like, I would love to see someday, now that the old guard at WWE has kind of gone away, and you've got Hunter and you've got Shawn Michaels, you got these folks. Do you think someday we might see an AEW WWE like crossover? Maybe
Not
just
with Tony Khan in charge.
not with Tony.
I don't think he'll do it. I think he has too much pride.
Okay, not with Tony Khan. All right, all right. Well, maybe not. We'll see we'll see what happens. But I do. We do have those fantasy bookings where we'd love to see somebody come over from. But that's what's cool too. And a lot of times people get upset, and then the tribalism happens when someone leaves WWE. They go to AEW or TNA or vice versa. AEW, they leave AEW. I always feel like that's a plus. That's what It's not just a great time to be a wrestling fan, but I think it's a great time to be a wrestler. There's so much more negotiation power. And yeah, Mercedes Moné comes to AEW, but what that means is that shows WWE wrestlers you have more negotiating power
Mhm.
because there are legit alternatives for you to go.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. And I think it was probably the most bold move that she could have done. Like, going to New Japan was one thing, but
mhm.
to be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to AEW because they're gonna pay me what I think I'm worth," like, it gives a lot of power back to the wrestlers. It's not just, "Hey, you're gonna show up and do your job because this is the only place to go." Well, now it's not.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, this match that we just talked about wasn't the only piece of news in women's wrestling. We've got a lot to talk about with women's wrestling news, and here we go. Did that say Mine Runner likes Plaza Azteca gringo sauce? Is that what that said? All right. I got to find out who's putting the captions in here. It's not you, is it, Angel? Who's putting these captions? I swear.
It's not. I mean, I'm the other co-host. It's definitely not me.
Definitely not
Never.
you at all.
I would never do that to you.
All right, we're gonna talk to Brian about this. I'm wondering, maybe is it Thunder, or maybe it's JP Harlow? Somebody's doing it. All right, so
It's probably JP. It's probably JP.
NXT had more than just that one match. Of course, there were some cool moments. We had Storm EST showing up for Kaylani Jordan, and we also had some interesting developments with Lola Vice. Well, first let's talk about Storm EST and Kaylani Jordan. And Mary, what is your take on Kaylani Jordan? And do you feel like she's underrated, or do you feel like she gets more flack than she deserves?
I definitely don't think she's underrated. I think she is exactly where she's supposed to be in terms of having a mid-card women's title. I think that's a good place for her. You know, that's where Carmelo Hayes was, and now we see where he is. So I think it's a good place for her, because I don't think she's ready for, being the face of NXT. But I loved this moment with Bianca and Jade being with her. Like, just the picture of Black excellence.
Yeah,
it's just so incredible, and I love that they had her back, and I love that they went down to NXT, because with their tag team titles, they can go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I would love to see them defend on NXT too, but I don't even know. Is there really any women's tag teams right now in NXT?
Not necessarily, but what's interesting is there are some trios that could kind of like make a tag team. It is interesting too how there is just one women's tag team title now, where there's not an NXT or a Raw or SmackDown. It's just women's tag team titles. It's kind of like, I don't know. Should there be more women's tag team? Should they bring back NXT tag team women's titles, or, what? And this is kind of interesting too, because you see this in the independent scene, and AEW doesn't have women's tag titles, and we want that to happen. But like the independent scene, they're starting to form some women's tag team or tandems out there, but it's so hard to book a women's tag team at an indie event. A lot of times it becomes a hodgepodge. It's like these two indie wrestlers can take off from work and go to this event on Saturday, so we're going to make them a team. So do you feel like that's part of it, is just the difficulty in creating a homegrown tag team tandem, or do you feel like it's something that needs more attention and more growth?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't on board with the tag titles uniting at first, but it makes sense considering we don't have enough women to have, a lot of viable tag teams. And that's unfortunate. We should have more women's wrestlers on the roster, but I think some do need to be grown from the ground up, like in the Performance Center. I know they signed those twins for the like next up
the
college thing.
Yeah. The what's it called? And
Twins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that could be a tag team that shows up. Maybe they'll show up at Bad Blood. Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be crazy. That'd be wild. No, but that's what I'm saying though. Like, I think there's options to have homegrown tag teams, and I think unfortunately the problem is that in wrestling, it's hard with women because a lot of times they book women, they're so catty and there's all this infighting, and the locker room, like, everybody's for themselves. And so I think it's harder to have tag titles among women because there's not enough room, and they need women for the singles titles. And it's especially hard when now we're asking for more singles titles. So it's going to be spread out even more thin, if that's the case. But I think we should be investing more in the tag team division, because right now the tag team division ain't it, even with the men. Like,
Yeah.
when was the last time the tag team titles were defended on any pay-per-view? Like, WrestleMania?
And I think I wonder how much of that is. I know that Vince for a long time was not a big tag team fan, and right towards the end before he left, he didn't seem like he was big on tag team titles. So I don't know how much
Mhm.
that is exactly that. Maybe it needs some time to develop. But yeah, you make some very good points. When you're already trying to ask for a significant amount of time for the women's division, it's then okay. Now we need time for the tag team titles. Yeah, it's a lot. But do you feel like we're getting to a point with women's wrestling where they're getting enough attention as they should be?
I mean, we could definitely always use more attention. You know what I mean? Like, we
Yeah.
need longer matches, but I think this is definitely the height of where we've been so far.
Hmm.
Even, when we had Sasha and Charlotte, like the original Four Horsewomen, yes, they were
Yeah.
getting attention and stuff, but right now, I think is the best time to be a woman in wrestling. And with the two titles that are on Raw and SmackDown, and then NXT having two women's titles of their own, like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I I can see what you're saying about how there's like factions, and we can get more women in the tag team scene. I think we just need to make time for them. And with Raw going down to 2 hours and SmackDown switching to 3, I wonder how that's going to be impacted.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. And it's gonna be interesting to see Jada Parker and Lola Vice. I don't know, Jada. You think Jada was a little too hot headed with Lola Vice? It seemed like Lola was trying to help her. And
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's always like there's always this cattiness when it comes to the women's division.
uh,
And you don't see the men like that a lot.
there's a couple exceptions, but
Yeah.
um, couple superstars still on their way. We got to hear from Stephanie Vacour, which and again, I had to put the picture of Shawn Michaels cooking. But Delta is coming as well. Delta's going to be a badass in NXT. This is further supportive evidence of NXT's roster, and just in WWE in general. Are you familiar with Delta, or have you been familiar with Stephanie Vacour before they signed with WWE?
No, like I said, I mostly stick to WWE, so I'm not well versed when people are coming from other companies, but once I am aware of them, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get invested in this. And I think it's so cool they're bringing these women. It is hard when you want the women who are at the performance center to be able to get opportunities, and
Mhm.
unfortunately those opportunities are going to these bigger stars. But at the same time, there's a reason that we're bringing these stars.
Yep.
And I wonder, how do you guys feel about Jade just going straight to the main roster and not doing NXT like these women are doing?
My thoughts on that, and I'd like to hear Angels, but I felt fine with that because Jade's a little bit different because she had established herself in AEW as she was a champion at AEW, and not just in AEW, but beyond. She was one of the first AEW stars to kind of break out beyond wrestling. She was and she was already a basketball. She already had the basketball thing, and there was a lot of she already had some celebrity to herself, and plus the whole there was a lot of internet controversy, whatever. People, oh no, Jade. I think it was smart. I also think it was smart pairing her up with Bianca Belair. I think
Mhm.
that's perfect. Jade is a physical specimen, and she's a hard worker too. And that's one thing a lot of people don't give Jade credit for is that when she was at AEW, she was at every Wednesday's practice trying to become a better wrestler. And where she may not have been able to show it A lot of people called her Jadeberg because she was the women's Goldberg, because she would have the TBS title and just she was just always squashing people. But that was more to do with you had this star, you had this physical specimen who also was she was trying, she was getting better and better and better. And I think to put her in NXT almost would have, I think it would have really killed some momentum. And putting her with Bianca Belair was great. Putting her with I call her Trinity, but Naomi, putting her with Naomi as well, and that whole, the three of them, and that one shot where the three of them were dressed like Simone Biles, that such cool stuff. And I like that. But I think with the case where if they're not coming from an AEW, I think because if Britt Baker showed up at WWE, you could put her in the main roster because she's well known with AEW. You could, a Thunder Rosa would be somebody I think you could put in the main roster. Whereas coming from CMLL or coming from New Japan or something like that, you probably want to ease them into the WWE culture. Having said that, I think this is going to also be iron sharpens iron, because you're bringing in these heavy hitters onto your roster, and they're going to just make the rest of the women better too. I think, just that, going back and forth. I don't know. Do you see it that way, or do you think they're going to be stealing the spotlight?
I mean, I think it's both. It's hard because yes, they're going to be stealing that spotlight and having the bigger matches, but at the end of the day, we just have to hope that it encourages the girls in the performance center and who aren't at the top to work even harder and not get complacent, because that can happen when you start getting a little bit of fame and a little bit of, oh yeah, they're putting me on the show. You can get complacent and not go to the gym and not work on your promos. But hopefully this will push them to continue to improve. I
think it'd be fantastic. Let's talk about Jade a little bit. Of course, it's interesting. You mentioned that the tag team titles not being defended. Here they are hosting Bad Blood.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless maybe they're going to be the surprise. The twins show up and challenge them or what have you. But let's talk a little Smacketh Down. First of all, does Chelsea Green get enough credit for her character?
No, she deserves more credit. She does not get, this woman deserves so much credit, especially after her table spot. She's so criminally underrated, and I'll never understand.
And she's a great wrestler too, but this character, that whole montage of her picking up trash was just
she's just so good. She's so good.
And what do you think of the pairing her with Piper Niven? Do you like that pairing? Is it working? Is there chemistry there?
I mean, I liked it when she got partnered up with Sonya Deville. I thought they were going to be really good, but then obviously Sonya got hurt. But I love her and Piper's dynamic. I think it's so funny, and I'm glad they kind of went that route of kind of being a little bit more comedy, just because I think it suits them better. And I'm just glad that Piper is being used at all, because she is also underrated. So.
Big time. Were you a fan of the Iconics when the Iconics were around?
I loved the Iconics. I loved them so much. I was so devastated when they left or when they got released.
It killed me when they split them up. I mean,
that was so dumb. I can't.
I'm a pork chop, if you know what that means. That they started a podcast called Offer Chops, and they all the listeners were pork chops. They were, and what's interesting is here now you have Chelsea Green kind of playing an icon, she would fit in with the Iconics.
Yeah,
and she showing that that kind of character could kill it. But it does sound like Jessica McKay and Cassie Lee, as they're known now, they're now mommies. They're mommy tag teams, so they're having a good time. Nishin, of course, winning, getting the W. I'm liking that feud. Also, interesting. What did you think of Bayley getting the W over Naomi? And Naomi seemed okay with it.
Yeah, I understand why, probably why they had Bailey win, so that her and Nia can run it back for the title. But justice for Naomi, man. Like she's so good, and
Mhm.
a lot of people are like, oh, she's slowed down and she doesn't look as good as she did in TNA and da da da. But it's like she's the same person. Like I don't know, she's super athletic, she's really good. Like I just think it's all about ring chemistry, and unfortunately with some people it's harder to have ring chemistry.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why some people think that she's having bad matches. But I'm hoping her time comes again. She's a two-time women's champion, and I think she deserves to be a third.
I'd love to see it. All right, both Angel and Mary. I'm going to ask Angel first. The Uno outfit, slay or nay? Angel?
I saw a lot of people having a lot of backlash. I think it was just like I thought it was cute. I like Uno. That may or may not be because I usually always win at Uno,
All
but I love Uno. And no, I don't cheat. I
right,
swear. I swear I
very
don't.
cool. Mary, slay or nay?
You know what? I'm gonna say nay because I always lose at Uno. No, I mean it was definitely interesting. Not her favorite outfit of mine, but I thought it was funny.
She did a spin off the ropes, and I said, "Up, that's an Uno reversal, Uno reverse,
Yeah.
reverse card." All right, let's talk about in the WWE Raw, and of course, the hottest feud. All right, it's women's wrestling, but we got to talk about Dom being such a great scumbag and such a great little rat, and the Rhea Ripley, yes, exactly, Rhea and Liv, and we're gonna have Dom in a shark cage. To me, this is chef's kiss. Mary, what are your feelings on that feud?
Well, I will represent Maddie for a second. She does not like the shark cage. She wishes it would have been like a last woman standing or something like that. I'm kind of indifferent towards it. Like I like that idea. I think it's fun. I think Dom will make it very entertaining. When he said like, "Oh, like I can't go back," because it
Yeah,
looks like bars.
yeah.
I thought that was really funny, and I think he'll make it work. I know some people think like, "Oh, he'll get out somehow and still help Liv." I hope that won't be the case because I just want this to be a match between Liv and Rhea and nobody else. I don't want Judgment Day to interfere either. Like, I feel like they deserve, especially for the trio, for
Yeah.
the third match of the trio, they deserve it to have be strictly one-on-one.
And do you think? I mean, I hope this is not the blow off. I hope there's more. I hope that this is going to go. I'd love to see this feud continue. Or do you think it's going to get to a point of saturation where we're sick of it? It's time for Rhea and Liv to move on.
I mean, I think a lot of people are already feeling that way. They want Liv to have other opponents, and I feel that. But at the same time, like I said, look at the Raw women's roster. Tell me,
Yep.
tell me a viable choice because I don't know one.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
unfortunately the problem that we're in right now.
Yeah. Maybe somebody from NXT needs to get called up. If you could call up anybody from NXT to start getting them some reps on Raw, who would it be?
I mean, it has to be Roxanne.
Yeah.
I mean, she's already been in the Rumble, twice?
Mm-hmm.
And she's already, kind of established herself on the main roster a couple times. So I think it's the natural step for her to lose the title, probably in a couple months and then make her main roster debut. I think it would literally shake up everything.
Do you pull a page with her and have her show up and grab a title?
It would be bold. It would be bold if
Yeah.
when she did that to AJ Lee, my jaw was on the floor. Like, because I loved AJ Lee.
Yeah.
And so when Paige came out and immediately won the title, I was just like shook. I could see them doing that with Roxanne. I think that would actually be very good.
That would be cool. To Liv. And I mean, it doesn't mean you can't bring it back.
No, I mean, that's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
But choosing, because we have Nia on SmackDown as champion, so obviously probably wouldn't be a good choice for Roxanne to try to pull that on Nia. So
No.
it would have to be Liv.
Yeah. I like that. We have a we have certain feelings towards Shayna Baszler, Sonya Deville, Zoe Stark, because those are three of the most badass women and should be booked as three of the most badass women, and they should be dominating. Yet their team name they have got to have the worst trio like faction name that totally does. Like, I would be fine with three badass bitches, or we will kill you, or something like that. But it's like
It
Club
like
Fusion Power Smoothie. I mean, I don't
what is the actual name? It's Pure Fusion
collective.
Collective, I think.
Yeah,
What does that even mean?
I don't know. They
I didn't know what it means, so I would just like rename them Pink Pony Club, bro. At this point, so much easier to remember than Pure Fusion
I feel like I'm
Collective.
ordering
Like,
a tropical smoothie. It's
Like I would have preferred like MMA baddies. Like I don't know. Like
yes.
yeah, the
The ladies
name
of death.
I
The murder posse. There's so many. You could have just made it generic, but it's like and that's the thing too, is that like it was a couple weeks ago they had this promo and it's all badass and they're like, they're Shane's playing with their cards and they're all like, there's a lot of people that are crying to their mommies and they're gonna they go to a faction because they suck and blah, and then they're like, stand, you guys get ready for the Pink Pony Fusion Club, and it's just like right then it's like wah, wah. So,
yeah, I don't know who came up with the name, but if it was them, sorry, girl, it's not working. If it was somebody in the writer room, they need to be fired. Sorry.
and like, why aren't they dominating? Why are they losing? Why are they not dominating and killing people?
Didn't Zoe Stark win her match?
Oh, she did.
On Raw?
Well, yeah, she did. We can talk
okay,
about.
I thought I was tripping.
No, she did win her match. Thank you, Sonya Deville, of course, a little bit of shenanigans on the side. But to the rescue, we did have some friends come to the rescue returning. We of course was it Katana, I think, that has the mask on.
Yeah.
And so what were your thoughts on this match and then the aftermath?
Kaden and Katana, love them dearly. They're so small. To me, it's just not believable that they'd clear out the ring. Like, I'm so sorry. I love them so much, but it was just, they just look like little tiny dolls. I don't know.
Well, they were fighting the Pink Pony Club. So, I mean, what do you they should be the Pink Pony Club, and let's be honest. But not like, yeah. I mean, I don't know if this was it is what it is. I'm glad Zoe got it. I don't know. I maybe I need to check my feelings. I wish this goes back deep, because when they first brought Shayna Baszler to the main roster and they tried some kind of vampire thing with her at first, like, didn't she try to bite Becky Lynch or something? This was when she first came up to the main roster years ago. And it was just like I felt like, no, she just needs to be this badass that just hurts people. That just goes and hurts people. But I don't know.
I'm sure if Maddie was here, she could give us all of the details on Shayna Baszler's career. She's such a Shayna Baszler stan.
Oh, I would not mind Shayna going to AEW and just wrecking fools in AEW. I think that would be really cool. And again, we call them Pink Pony Club out of affection because we love them.
Yeah.
It's the name that we can't stand.
The fact that we don't even know what it means. It's like how like when Solo was calling Jacob, what was he calling? Or no, he was calling Tamatonga like the MFT or something. And I'm like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I think I know what the MF stands for, and if the T is Tonga. Yeah. I think some people figured out what the MF meant, but yeah, you're right. MFer. But
like, can you imagine trying to buy merch with their name on it. Like, no, I'm not gonna want Pure Fusion Collective on a t-shirt.
Unless it's this.
Yeah, unless it's them on ponies, I don't want it.
Oh, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Really quickly, I know this is outside of your realm of focus, which I understand. I mean, talk about a problem to have, too much wrestling to follow. I mean, let's be honest. Twist my arm. But really quickly, Toni Storm. I don't know if you've been catching any of Toni Storm's antics in AEW. The timeless Toni Storm, she's the actress and all this. Well, she's now in Japan, and she's really having a ball in Japan, and she's got an IWGP match coming up. But the Japanese wrestlers are really having to process. They're really having to process this character. She said she's at a press conference with she's got Mayu Iwatani is going to be her opponent, and she says to him, she goes, Godzilla doesn't have my thighs, Mothra doesn't have my flaps, but after I become the IWGP champion, I will destroy like your city or something. It's and like it cuts over to Mayu, and she's just got this like you could tell, like, even lost in translation, she's like, what is going on? And apparently after Japan, Tony's going to CMLL for a while. So yeah.
I mean, I love this for Toni Storm. Like, I was a fan of her when she was in WWE, and she has truly made a name for herself. Like, she proved that she can be so much more than what she was. And this whole character, like, I don't know, was this like her idea, or was this like their idea?
It was her and RJ City. Like, she started out, she came in and she was similar to how she was at NXT. She came in and she had like the Barracuda like theme music, and she came in like this, and then she joined with the Outcast with Saraya and Ruby, and she then, like, when she lost the title, she started acting all crazy, like she's like losing her mind. And from there, it kind of evolved, because she did an interview with RJ City, and RJ City's like, he's like this like classical movie nerd, and so he's kind of between her, and he does write a lot of her help write a lot of her stuff, but that kind of came out of both of their minds, and she became, and shooting her in monochrome and doing the whole All About Eve, and the whole gimmick has been tremendous. Also,
yeah, for sure.
Fans, I don't know are you familiar with Club Venus, where Mariah May used to be part of Club Venus in New Japan, or in Japan, with Mina Shirakawa, and I think it was at Stardom, and bringing Mina Shirakawa to AEW. Now what's interesting is there's almost a sort of, not really love triangle, but like friendship triangle now, because now Mina is more friends with Tony, and there's this whole thing, and it's really interesting. But yeah,
the tea.
Yeah, exactly. It's really crazy. But what's great is, this is, like you said, this when talent are allowed to take chances or to explore their own creativity, sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes you get Pink Pony Club, but then sometimes you get Timeless Toni Storm. And I feel like Timeless Toni Storm, I think it's tremendous. Comment in the chat, it says, really, the women's division AEW has really fallen off since she left. It seems they did not have a plan for Mariah. I think so. I think that's a possibility. There's a little bit of confusion with those, but yeah, I'm all for it. And I think that's something that maybe they're doing to WWE now a little bit, that they didn't quite do with Vince, when Vince was very, not bashing WWE, but everybody says, Vince would show up the hour before the show, and I don't like this crap, we're gonna do this instead. And it's like, well, great, now it changes everything around. Let's see here. What we've got, just a little update too. Of course, this is going with Brent Ross. they kind of, there was kind of some, Mariah May was watching the match with Britt Baker and Serena Deeb. Queen Aminata came out and helped Britt Baker, but Britt seemed kind of like she had the ick with, like she kept kind of pulling away from Queen Aminata. That's weird. One cool thing though, MVP showed up and, gave his card to Mercedes Moné.
Mm-hmm.
And later that night, of course, Shelton Benjamin showed up. So we're getting the Hurt Business in AEW. Were you a fan of the Hurt Business?
Yeah, I mean, I like Bobby Lashley and Cedric Alexander. Shelton Benjamin, like, I don't know, he just always felt kind of vanilla to me, but that's because I didn't watch a lot of his old stuff. I know people are like, oh, old Shelton Benjamin was really good. But I liked the Hurt Business. I like Bobby Lashley. I like MVP. I love that he approached Mercedes Moné. I hope that she'll be the face of the Hurt Business. And I just think that's such a good decision because a lot of people don't like Mercedes on the mic. They think that she's not very good. So to have a mouthpiece like MVP, love.
Yeah, I think it's great. Obviously, they won't have Cedric, but we'll have. I think there's other talents in AEW to join the Hurt Business. I'm all for this. I think you're absolutely right, and I think that's just going to continue to enhance Mercedes and the whole CEO persona. Just a little bit here. Just Jamie Hayter. If you're not familiar with Jamie Hayter, she's one badass chica. She's somebody I could see rolling into main roster WWE at some point because she's just a badass. And she had a match with Saraya, and of course Harley Cameron was there because it was Saraya Rules. One of the funny things is, she made it. It was called Saraya Rules, which meant that like if your name is Saraya, you can cheat, you can do all these things, but if you're not Saraya, you can't. I thought it would have been funny if the rule, like she grabbed it from an old WWE contract and it still had the name Paige on it, and Jamie Hayter's shoot name is Paige. So it would have been hilarious if she's like, my shoot name is Paige, so I get to actually be the one to do all this. I don't know. And maybe that would have been too inside baseball. And again, just to kind of go back to Brent Ross, and I know you're not as familiar with the women's roster at AEW, but they have the talent. There's tremendous talent at AEW. The women's roster itself is tremendous. But I do feel like, without, when you get a Toni Storm and she's such a big, she's a big draw and she's a big part of the women's division, you can see taking her out of the equation. It's kind of, there seems to be some confusion on the direction that they want to go. Like we don't really see who's, I want to say anointed, but who's in line for them. There's like in WWE and NXT, you can kind of see, oh, there's where they're going, or you may not know completely where they're going, but I don't know. Do you feel like that WWE does a really good job of that storytelling and building matches?
Not with the women's division. I mean, really the only story that we have is Liv and Rhea.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we have Nia with Tiffany. Like, oh, is Tiffany gonna cash in on her or not? But there's literally nothing else. And it always revolves around the titles. I want stories where it has nothing to do with it, like how CM Punk and Drew are. Like, I want that for the women. And I feel like we used to have that. Like, especially when we had the 4 horsewomen there. Yeah. Like, there was stories within that. And there
Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. I mean,
yeah. And then, during the Total Diva days, we had feuds that were kind of based off of that and not on the titles. So I think we need to get back to that. And I think we need to have some feuds that are not involving the titles.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that other companies do better.
I do see that. I think TNA actually knocks it out of the park with that. They do a great job. It's interesting too, because if you think about it, if you remove the championship out of the Liv Rhea feud, it's still a compelling feud. He doesn't. That's one that doesn't need the title. A title is a gimmick, really. A title is it's a MacGuffin. It's something to create a story around. But you can have, like you said, the Drew and CM Punk. I mean, you could say the Rhea. I mean, what are they really? Let's be honest. What are they really fighting over? They're fighting over Dom and the whole Judgment Day and
And
the
the
whole
betrayal.
the betrayal. So it's like that's the story, not the title. So I don't know.
I wish they were focusing more on the fact that, hey, they used to be tag team partners.
Mhm.
And then Rhea turned on her. And then Rhea injured her. But instead, it's all about Dom.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's insulting to the fans sometimes if they don't go there with a lot of the stuff here. Really quickly, because this we could talk about wrestling all day long. Got it just really quickly that they're at a Ring of Honor tapings right before AEW Dynamite. We had there was an injury to Lady Frost, who's tremendous. I think her name was wrestling a enhancement talent, local talent, Kelly Morgan, and she apparently suffered a concussion, so our hearts go out to her. Lady Frost, and that happens. It's one of those things where when their injuries happen, a lot of people start immediately go unsafe. It's wrestling. There's gonna be injuries. There's gonna be those freak accidents that happen, and it was just one of those things. Sammy Guevara also got suffered a concussion, but it sounds like they're both moving around on their own accord. So heart goes out to him. Never want to have somebody get a concussion. And kudos for the concussion protocol that they're able to follow now, where back in the day, it's like if you have a concussion, you work or you don't get paid. And I do want to really quickly, Izzy, we got to talk about our girl Izzy. The Izzy
Love.
All right. So, were you a fan of the little girl that Sasha Banks harassed and stole her bow? I mean, there's
Absolutely.
you were talking about long-term storytelling. She is our Mission Pro Wrestling champion, and her story is, she's breaking beyond that, being that little girl. She had the hot tag with Izzy. Now, she's working her way, and inevitably, I think we're going to see Izzy versus Mercedes Moné at some point. We're going to see that in the ring. I'd love to see her also wrestle Bayley. What's that?
It'd be so full circle. It would be incredible.
So we're hoping at a given event in Texas that we see that. But each week we have the Izzy report following her career. She posted on October 2nd when I was warming up for my match on Sunday. This little girl got into the ring and talked about she wants to be a wrestler. Seeing her light up when she stepped in reminded me of why I love doing what I do, helping the next generation through wrestling. Already becoming big sister, and keep that picture, because that little girl might become a superstar and come after her, or tag with her. And we also got to talk about another full circle. Izzy wrestled Missa Kate from Chicago. She's the Chicago darling. And Missa Kate has a distinction at Mission Pro, is that she has actually gave Izzy her first win. Missa Kate got the L against Izzy, and she got her first win. And so that's the history books. Missa Kate is known as the first L, or as that. So there was this match. Now she challenged for the Mission Pro title, and she pulled Misa pulled an Eddie Guerrero. She Angel, do you want to talk about what happened with Missa Kate and the Eddie Guerrero style?
Yeah, so Missa just throws the title at Izzy, fakes that she got hit, and then gets her DQ'd. So technically Izzy did lose the match, but I mean she didn't lose the title. So I mean you win some, you lose some, I guess. But that was just foul play. I mean, come on, Mister. Come on. She was scared because she knew that she didn't want to lose because she knew Izzy was going to beat her again.
All right, Mary, I know you know the phrase, but what would Eddie Guerrero say in response to that?
What phrase are you looking for?
Oh,
because I'm like,
if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
oh. I thought you were going to say
Viva la
lie, cheat, and
raza.
steal, but I'm like, yep.
Yeah, viva la raza. Yeah, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Exactly, and that's and so again, here's an independent thing, which is really hard to keep storylines in independent scene,
Mm-hmm.
but having these kind of little nuggets around the country, around the globe. Here, there's a whole story between the two of them, and now this could play into when Mission Pro Wrestling returns in 2025. Here's a whole. Now we've got Missa Kate's becoming known as a big time rival for Izzy, and so now we've got two. They're one for one. Now we've got the trilogy here, and will that happen at some point? I don't know, but here's storytelling in the indies. So if you can do it in the indies, come on, major promotions, let's get some storytelling.
And shout out to all indie wrestling companies. Like, you guys are the ones holding it down for people who can't afford to go to the bigger shows. And like, I go to the one here. It's called SoCal Pro Wrestling. So if you're in the San Diego area, check it out. But they're actually going to have Simon Miller from What Culture Wrestling at their next show. And I'm so excited for that. But yeah, I love Izzy. I hope one day that we can get her on the Meet Us in the Ring podcast, because that would just be so incredible. And I can't wait to see her when she debuts in either WWE or AEW, wherever she wants to go.
I think it's going to be awesome. And, maybe we'll have her people call your people and set something up.
I'll cry. Don't.
I think that would be pretty awesome. But yeah, it's such a cool. There's such a great time to be a wrestling fan. Such a great time to be a women's wrestling fan, let alone just regular wrestling. But we want to close out with this quote. This is the quote of the week, and Angel, go ahead and read the quote for us.
Okay. I'm not here to put bruises on people's backs or send them to the hospital. I'm here to put smiles on people's faces. So reflect on that, guys.
Yeah.
Period.
Don't be mean to people. Be nice. Be nice.
Very good. Well, Mary, this has been such an awesome first time having you with us. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot more of you. We'd love to have you back, and we'd love to have you and Maddie on, and we'd love to continue this collaboration. This has been a lot of fun. We could talk more about the Pink Pony Club a little bit.
You guys are welcome on the Meet Us in the Ring podcast anytime you want.
Awesome. Let us know, and we'd love to join you. But on behalf of Mary the Heel, Araujo, and Angel Marie, this is Mind Runner. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week. And this is the Pink Pony Club. Take us out. Now Mary the Heel. We want your entrance music to take us out. Here we go.